Offshore bank deposit in the euro-dollar market. The first major step in the institutional evolution of the offshore dollar realm took place on the level of offshore commercial banks IOUs, via the emergence of the euro-dollar market. Euro-dollar, by definition, are USD-denominated bank deposits, which are not subject to US banking regulation as they are issued by a non-US commercial bank, the non-US branch of a US commercial bank, or since 1981, via an international banking facility IBF in the US. Euro-dollars are typically fixed-rate time deposits with maturities ranging from overnight to several years, but mostly between 1 week to 6 months, with the London Interbank Offer Rate, LIBOR, representing the euro-dollar market's average interest rate. The euro-dollar market came into existence in 1957, when banks in the City of London started dealing in USD-denominated bank deposit and initiated what ENSIC calls a revolutionary form of the monetary system. Offshore USD deposits on the euro-dollar market emerged as a convenient and profitable device, without even thinking about the broader implication. Kindleberger notes that the euro-dollar market came into being more or less by accident, and that it is a product not of planning by economists but of evolutionary practice. Offshore banking allowed for the circumvention of the restrictive financial relation of the Bretton Woods system. It was done in various national units of account, e.g., in Euro-franc or Euro-marks, and for instruments with various maturities, e.g., in the form of longer-term Eurobonds. Still, offshore USD deposits were by far the most important instrument. Therefore, the euro-dollar market soon became the heart of what today constitutes the offshore dollar realm and may be thought of as an extension of the Fed funds market. For example, the onshore money market for USD wholesale bank deposit. Figure 10. Okay, this one is figure 10, rise of euro-dollar deposit in the offshore dollar realm. Still same like before, the left one is onshore dollar realm, the middle one is offshore dollar realm, and the right one is other monetary area. It looks that non-US commercial banks IOU in the middle, the second row, euro-dollar deposits trade on par with US commercial banks IOU since 1957. While US Commercial Bank IOU is since 19th century and the Federal Reserve IOU since 1913. Several factors contribute to the rise of the euro-dollar market, and the dynamics of the euro-dollar market's growth changed over time. In its early years, socialist state banks, for example from China and the Soviet Union, were interested in keeping bank deposits denominated in USD outside the US jurisdiction to avoid the danger of having this blocked by US authorities. Moreover, international trade financing was required in the post-war boom years but not always easy to attain in the restrictive Bretton Woods system. Many basic commodities such as oil are traded in US dollar. Thus, the infamous petrodollars are typically euro-dollar deposits, created outside the US monetary jurisdiction. This demand for dollar liquidity was met by banks in the City of London, who had been traditionally oriented towards financing international trade in sterling, but with the decline of the UK's currency after the Second World War had lost key part of their business model. Helena and Burns, in their studies on the political economic origin of the euro-dollar market, therefore attribute key relevance to the British Bank of England Treasury City of London nexus, which triggered the emergence of offshore banking. In this, they could use structures of the old Victorian bill market while exploiting accounting rules introduced in the late 1930s. In the 1960s, large US banks discovered the advantages of the euro-dollar market for their own purpose and turned the euro-dollar market into a functional part of the New York money market. On the one hand, by shifting their activities to the euro-dollar market, US bankers were able to circumvent the New Deal banking reform, such as reserve requirement and interest rate ceiling through Regulation Q, which enabled them to offer higher interest rate. At that time, round-trip transaction originating and ending in the US become a dominating feature of euro-dollar transaction. On the other hand, US bankers were able to avoid the restriction placed on their international activities by the Bretton Woods system and the associated capital controls by channeling their financial activities through the euro-dollar market. US authorities, who could have prevented the emergence of the euro-dollar market by introducing capital control, refraining from doing so, for example by making it comparatively easy for US banks to establish branches abroad that would then engage in euro-dollar activities. In this, the US authorities' motivation was both to support the domestic banking industry and to promote the international role of the US dollar. While the City of London remained the geographical heart of the euro-dollar market, offshore USD deposits soon started to be created in many other places of the world. This does not only refer to major financial centers such as Zurich or Tokyo, but also to places inside the US. Effectively, making transaction on the euro-dollar market merely meant using a different desk at one of the New York banks. In practice, the euro-dollar market became just one funding channel next to the onshore Fed funds market. Euro-dollar, a mid-20th century term, is therefore anachronistic and is a misnomer of a kind. At the time, the label euro was understood synonymously as being located outside the US in Europe and typically in London. However, euro-dollars are not necessarily created in Europe but can be issued everywhere in the world. Moreover, the term is confusing as euro-dollar have nothing to do with the actual EU's unit of account. To avoid this ambiguity, it would perhaps be best to refer the euro-dollar as offshore dollar deposit. Since the emergence of the euro-dollar market, scholars have debated about how to conceptualize the financial activities associated with euro-dollar banking. Typically, they rejected the view that on the euro-dollar market, autonomous money creation took place. The dominant view was that existing national bank deposits were shifted around internationally, using the euro-dollar market as a transmission belt, yet without increasing the money supply overall. By contrast, Bell explained that banks, through their activities in the euro-dollar market, do indeed autonomously create USD-denominated credit money and, while leaving the supply of onshore dollar unchanged, increase the world supply of USD deposits. Figure 11 puts this argument in stylized balance sheet and, in line with the money view perspective, depicts the creation of euro-dollar as a swap of IOUs of different maturities. To explain why the creation of euro-dollar deposits in the offshore dollar realm parallels the autonomous creation of onshore dollar deposit. This one is figure 11, euro-dollars as offshore bank deposit created as a swap of IOUs. The borrower, they have euro-dollar deposit on asset, short-term IOUs, and loan as long-term IOUs, while the non-US bank have loan as long-term IOU as asset and euro-dollar deposit as their liabilities. To quantify the dimension of offshore dollar creation, figure 12, taken from Byrne, displays the volume of euro currency market from 1957 to 1977. Since the Bank for International Settlement (BIS) only started to collect data on euro-dollar in 1963, the volumes for the earlier year are estimated. Its sharp rise went along with the demise of the Bretton Woods system and its international monetary institution. As Lehner famously described, the rise of the euro-dollar market was the gateway of the financial globalization process that would ultimately take down the embedded liberalism of the Bretton Woods era. This is the figure 12, Euro currency and world reserve, 1957 and 1977. The gray one is world reserve in billion US dollar, while the black one is euro currency market net size in dollar billion. I can see that the chart is higher in 1975, while the white one is official euro currency holding in billion US dollar. Only after the demise of the Bretton Woods system did regulators begin to systematically account for the financial activities of the euro-dollar market. The Fed acknowledged the moneyness of euro-dollar for the first time in 1980 when it included them in their monetary aggregates. In 1979 to 1980, the Fed had still attempted to convince central bankers in other Western countries to re-regulate the euro-dollar market in order to prevent it from interfering with US domestic monetary policy. This, however, proved unsuccessful, both due to opposition within the US and by Britain as well as Switzerland. In 1981, instead, the Fed changed its strategy and introduced international banking facilities as regulatory creation that would allow US banks to participate in the euro-dollar market from inside the US. The Fed's goal was to exercise control of euro-dollar creation without threatening its influence on the domestic money supply and at the same time restore international competitiveness of US banks. In the following years and decades, the euro-dollar market continued to grow in size even further. Exact numbers are hard to come by, not least due to statistical difficulties. Figure 13, taken from Denby et al., compiled on the basis of BIS data, depicts offshore market size of the main units of account from 1980 to 2015. This is figure 13, banking sector currency, foreign currency liabilities. The pink one is US dollar and it's increased really strong in 2005. And the other one is euro, and the third one is other than the blue one. The other two that big is pound sterling and Japanese yen. On the one hand, figure 13 visualized the relative significance of the euro-dollar market compared to the offshore euro or the preceding currency respectively, offshore British pound, offshore Japanese yen, and offshore SVR. On the other hand, it illustrates the steady growth of the euro-dollar market until the mid-2000s as well as the reversion of its expansion in the 2007-2009 financial crisis. Overall, this data shows how the emergence and the extended use of euro-dollar deposit as a private credit money form, in line with the theoretical perspective adopted in this paper, correspond to an expansion of the monetary system as a self-referential network of expanding yet unstable debt claim. This process was driven by private initiative and supported by regulatory decision.